looking for. Just a little bit of clarity here. If you're watching this live stream, let me know if I got audio this time. I want to make sure we're all good. Oh yeah, there you go. There's the King Kong vibration. King Kong is coming. I can hear that. I think we do. I think I got the feedback. Let's see if this all takes up. I'll be checking out how much boost I have. Oh! Boom! Get that out of the way so that guy doesn't hit it. I'm already pretty out of the way. So, what I was trying to do last video was trying to make sure my green screen worked. But you know, the more things you add up, the more things you gotta be cognizant of whether they're actually working or not, like your mic, or who knows what. I mean, that's kind of the trick to putting all this together, is knowing how it all works. Ooh. And for me, I certainly have been learning one thing at a time, whether it was how to stream on my PlayStation, or getting a YouTube channel, or even knowing, you know, it seems that this is not an easy task. Ooh. There we go. Oh, I thought I was going to block it. But so far this might be working. I know the field's green, so you can't tell if a little bit of the green screen is showing, but I do think the mic's working better this time. It's Friday. It's time to hang out, have some fun. It's been a good week. Hopefully get to practice using some technology. Oh my gosh, get that in there. Oh, and he puts it in? Come on, that was my goal, pal. Look at it dance across the line. Dude. Come on. Alright, whatever. But the good thing is we got the mic working, it looks like. Let's see if this green screen can hold up to the different lighting as we change from midday here to kind of sunset Albuquerque, and time changes quick. Sun starts to set. There we go. Let me take this goal from you. Oh, is that mine? He took it back anyway. What a scumbag! That's okay. But it's been a good week to recap. My esports team, the Rating Raptors, are 10-0, 10-0. They've played about 35 rounds of Rocket League. They've only lost 2, but they're 10-0 in match play. And we've had one heck of a season. I think we started off really strong with kind of an unknown season, and hoping that ooh, nice block. We would not only be a competitor, but we'd have some fun and everything would work. And so it's been a difficult journey so far. Whether it nice shot. Whether it came to filling out these grants, which got technology that you see behind me for news media production class, or whether it was for my digital media class and getting the video game stuff and production material we need. It's all kind of come together, so I'm pretty happy about that. But the schedule itself, I've had to get on Discord and kind of meet a bunch of people that I didn't know before. And kind of make some connections to make a way to make these games happen, because they don't just schedule themselves. You don't just play Alaska without figuring out who these people are. So Esports Edu in the Discord has been super helpful. If you're not into that and you're into esports, or you're interested in trying to get an esports team together at your school, I highly recommend you join Discord and you start looking for matches and ask for help, whether it's what game should I play, or how to play them, or how do I even oh, should have put that one away, I didn't. Oh, I just flipped it around. They're gonna come there, they're gonna help you. I want to bicycle it so bad, because they all love games and they want to see you use them in your classroom. But I've been using games and stuff in my classroom, my research. For me, it was how can I compete with them and how can I form a league. And thanks to Chris Aviles, he was able to put something cool together. We have like 17 teams now that are in middle school around the country that are in this league. And it's a great place to start. We started off with whatever teams would play us. So the PCMS Dragons from New Jersey, they were bold enough to say, hey, we're ready to do this. They scheduled the matches, and about every week or so for the last 2 months we've had a match, and including the next 5 weeks after this. Next week we have a break for Thanksgiving, but to be honest, we're pretty busy. We're playing the likes of C&M. No, we're not playing C&M. I want to schedule them. We're playing UNM in a scrimmage later on in December. We got a little scrimmage against La Cueva planned against some of their good players. We have a varsity little post esports match, which is a little private esports club. We'll be playing them. They got players in champ. We also have a game against Texas. I forgot where in Texas. They're gonna be, they're probably gonna be pretty good. Ninth graders are generally just a little bit bigger and stronger and faster than high school students, and so we'll see what they have to bring. But you never know. It could, it could lead to disaster. No, I want my teams to get beat to some degree. I mean, they're undefeated, but in Rocket League, there's always somebody who's just a little bit better than you or gets the better bounce. And I want to find that point where my students are finding healthy competition. It wasn't until we played Oroville, California, that I feel like last week my teams kind of had a little test. And even granted, the coach on the other side was like, man, our team just smoked the other team 10-0, and so, you know, I can't imagine, like, you guys are just outplaying us right now. And so it was kind of neat to see the varying levels of play, because I think different schools have different levels of players, and at middle school it's really hard to kind of know where everyone should be at. And then by the time you get to high school, it's just like, for some reason you're like, oh, this should just be super competitive. Like, everyone should be good. And I think that's a fallacy of esports. I mean, you can learn to play guitar in high school, you can learn to play guitar in middle school, and it's going to be just as hard. It's just by the time high school comes around, people might have had a chance to play the guitar a little longer, and so people are better. And I think the same applies to Rocket League or any esport, you know. It's okay to start picking it up and playing, but there are some people who just have more exposure to the game because they've been around it longer, and so that just creates, well, in a greater discussion, the gaming literacy of some people is much better than the gaming literacy of others who don't really understand games. So like a play at middle school who's not, you know, they're kind of new to this. I ask them, are they new to video games? Are you new to competing? Are you new to the game? Like, what is it that you're new to, you know? And often it's the idea of competing, because, you know, most students have played games before and they know how to manipulate things in a 3D space, and they're used to playing things online, and they're used to being mic'd up in lobbies. Oh, yeah, no. The goal is, how do you put it all together? And I think it's tricky when the average age of a teacher is 42 and the average age of a video game player is 36. And we look at what the average age of our students are, which happens to be the same age every year. If it's 13, it's pretty tough, man. I think it's tricky. But, you know, this year is a great starting place for all of us. As middle school students, I think we have to find our place in the kind of academic machine, and sometimes if that's playing esports, so be it. These guys in James Monroe are really doing a good job of building some community that they're going to take with them into Cibola High School or even college. And that goes for any other esports program too, especially in middle school. Like you're starting off something that I think really has a long-term effect on the way students associate school with fun and just doing things that are kind of innovative. It's nice to say, oh, when I go to school I do cool things, not necessarily when you go home. You're like, oh man. Or yeah, like, you know, when I'm in school I always do all these cool things, and then when we want it to be that school is the place where you get to do all the fun stuff, and that you get to kind of reinforce it when you get home. But I don't think that's really the way it is, especially with video games, especially with technology. It's kind of backwards. You know, a lot of times we'll see our first VR headset under the Christmas tree instead of it being in your third period class. It might be that you saw your friend with a 3D printing pen before you ever saw a 3D printer in your school. That just speaks to the way technology is. It's expensive, and education companies aren't, super big on making technology super affordable. You remember how expensive the first computers were. I mean, I had Mr. Pata, who's in 7th grade at my school, say, hey, back in the day I spent like $15,000 on my first HD camera. I'm like, what? Like, this iPad was $200. So a lot's changed, the way we just do things, the way we have access to things. And it's important to know, like, hey, our 13-year-old students who are playing Rocket League right now, they've had access to this for 3 years. The PlayStation 4 has been out for 4 or 5 years. Technology does have a timestamp, and our students kind of stamp that time onto that technology, the way they use it. So I think video games, more than ever, have a place in their curriculum because we're using them so much, but yet we don't use them very much in school, and we're creating this inequity between the haves and the have-nots, and who uses them and who doesn't. And you get students who go, oh yeah, I played a book, or I played a game as a, now's a nice shot, I played a video game as a book in my English class. Or you have another kid who goes, no, my teacher would never let us play a video game that had any work in the classroom. And I go, that's too bad. We should be including all this stuff, whether it's video games, just digital literacy in general, technology practices that are a little bit different. I understand that, we don't know how to use everything that we got, but our job as educators is to model the best practices so that when kids use these technologies away from school, in the workplace, they have an understanding of how to use them or what to do. It's our job as teachers to model the usage of technology. That's why you see teachers now in this influx of using Snapchat and these little websites that students would naturally use at home, and all of a sudden now we're leveraging it for the common good of learning. And what do you know? Kids are interested. Because it's not what we bring to students, it's what students bring to school. And as soon as we can kind of unify that front between what we want our kids to do and what kids naturally want to do, we can make some cool curricular changes. It's like I talk to the math teachers. I'm like, let's stop solving math problems and let's find some problems that have to do with math in the real world that use concepts of algebra instead of focusing specifically on how to do it. It's kind of like Elon Musk talks about this a lot, and there's some philosophical things behind this, but if you're, instead of learning about math, you should use it. And I think that's a harder discussion for a lot of math teachers. They say, when are we ever going to use this? And I don't think many math teachers really do know the mathematical applications for the principles they're teaching. And I think that would be pretty tough, right? I mean, it takes an engineer to know when to use math. I don't know too many mathematicians who just solely solve calculations without anything to calculate on. I mean, calculations are generally about something. I would hate to find a math course where it's strictly just about numbers. It's typically what do we do with the numbers, and that's what makes math work. And I'll tell you, something like video games that uses so many different subjects at once, it's not about playing the games, it's why we play the games. It's what are we doing with the games. It's like back in the day, people were like, we're worried about what our kids are watching too much TV. I'm like, well, it depends on what they're watching. Yeah, and if they're only watching TV, that's bad. Kids shouldn't just be doing math. They shouldn't just be playing the violin. They shouldn't just be outside on their bike. They shouldn't just be playing games. They should be doing all of it. And the sooner people realize that a healthy literary appetite embodies more than just print-based literacy, they're going to really enrich the way we teach kids, because I can't stress enough how important it is to teach the whole student. And just because they're not strong book-based readers doesn't mean that they are not critical thinkers or that they are, oh, that was a good shot, that they're doomed in the future. And people are like, your kids play video games too much. I go, what does that mean? Like, well, they should be doing these other things. And I go, well, I mean, yeah. I wonder what the natural habits are of teens now and how they're different than kids even a decade before us, and where we should change kind of our beliefs about old habits, and then where we should do something about it, because I think there are some instances where Oh, give that to me. Kids are doing too much of this and that. But I'd like some data. Nice shot. I'd like to know a little bit more about how much time kids actually spend reading a night. How much time kids actually spend doing their math homework. I bet you the number is pretty startling, especially if you divide it up into different states and see the different viewpoints. But if you were to ask, you know, how many video games do you guys play? Oh my gosh. Oh no. I think the habits of teenagers when it comes to education are very interesting. Like, I don't think kids want to learn any less than they've ever learned before. I just think they're learning differently, and people don't see that difference. Like some parents like, my kid's not reading. I'm like, I bet your kid's reading more than they've ever read. I think you're just upset that your kid's not reading what you used to think kids should be reading. And that's okay too, right? I'm like, oh, then sit them down. Have them start doing some more traditional reading. But don't tell me that they're missing out. Nice shot. Because I often think that kids just need to reappropriate their time. Sure, I mean, video games are more immersive than ever, and their stories might be more complex than ever before. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't get into a good book and really just do a close reading of that book and enjoy that book for days on end. Just as much as you might with a video game that you're just in love with that you can't put the controller down. Oh, I needed that. Oh, come on. Am I going to lose this game? I think so. Look at that. I'm in the wrong goal. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm doing barrel rolls. Dude, blew it. What am I going to do? Can I pull it off? Is it possible? Is my work week over? Because I'm going to, after this game's over, I'm finishing the stream. And I'm going home. Because Dr. 450 has finished the work week. Oh, jumps over the ball. He jumps over it. My teammate's not even doing anything. Do I have a chance to tie it up? No, I don't. I tried. I don't have the ball in any field. I tried to give it the old flipperooski. Oh! Oh, and last second, way to wake up, buddy. You could have had me get a goal. We could have got it in there. Ooh. Well, I hope you had fun joining the stream. Chatted your face off a little bit about education, philosophy, games, all that. But it's been a crazy week. Week 14. See you later. It's been fun. Time to enjoy the break.